What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Anime. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, guys, I am here to bring you my first impression / review of Drifters, episode 1. Probably everybody's most hyped anime for this fall season, but then again, that's subjective. So anyway, without further ado, let's get this started. So what is Drifters about? Well, Drifters is a fantasy / alternate historical show. Basically, we see notable events from Japan back in the day, like the Battle of Sekigahara, which is what we first are introduced to while watching this first episode of Drifters. The Battle of Sekigahara is taking place, which is a real event that ended up going down in Japanese history. And we also have our main character, which is based off a real-life samurai during that era. Just for the sake and purposes of this review, I'm going to go by the main character's name of Toyo, so just giving a little disclaimer there. Now, from what we see in the very first half of this episode, we see the Battle of Sekigahara taking place, in which Toyo is going against the opposing force, aiding his fellow samurai, and they are cutting up, bits and pieces of the enemy one by one, and this show does show blood and gore, so if you are easily, put off by that, I wouldn't really recommend this show, because you do see heads, getting beheaded and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind before you watch this show. But if not, keep on watching. But basically, we have it to where a point in time ends up coming across where he ends up coming across the general of the opposing force, and he ends up mortally wounding one of the generals, while I think it was either another general or the leader of that opposing force ends up retreating due to, what Toyo was, capable of doing. But despite the fact that he was able to mortally wound one of the generals of the opposing force, Toyo also gets critically wounded as well, as we see a bunch of spears pierce through his body, and he is on the verge of death. And if it were not for the fact that the opposing force's leader said for everybody to retreat with his troops, then Toyo would have died right then and there on the spot. Now we have it to where this is where it gets kind of weird. We see that as Toyo is, using the last bit of his energy to try to make his way back home, he ends up stumbling across this man at a desk, and the whole room is turned white with a bunch of doors, without any explanation as to what the hell is going on. And we really don't know much about this old man, but what he ends up doing to Toyo is that he is actually end up capable of sending Toyo to a different dimension or a different parallel world. And we see that Toyo, the first, people that he meets within this new world that he has wandered up into is, that these characters have, like, Elvis sort of looking ears to them. So, I don't know. It seems like there's different races that are in this specific world that he wandered up into. And what, these two characters end up doing is sending the mortally wounded Toyo to this hideout in which the so-called drifters are located at, and basically they don't know where in fact these drifters are coming from. So from what we can gather in this episode is that the guy behind the desk that Toyo ended up confronting was the individual that apparently can send other people to this specific world, and people who are sent to this specific world are called drifters, as they are technically drifting through time, as we find out in this episode, when apparently one of the characters was supposed to die like 16 years ago, and then another character that has the long hair, who looks like a chick but is actually a guy, actually was supposed to be alive 400, or was supposed to be dead 400 years ago at the time, because, 400 years ago is a long fucking ass time, but apparently the dude is alive. So basically, this first episode was a setup to the three main characters that we're going to see in this show, who I believe are all inspired by real-life samurai back in, Japanese culture. So, when it comes to this first episode, I gotta say, the first episode was pretty entertaining. The animation, probably the best animation that we have seen of this fall season by far. I'm just stating that right now. The animation is really good in this show, and I'm surprised on how, they are actually not censoring some of the material that was shown in this first episode. I was very surprised at that, but I'm glad that they're not censoring, because, we have dudes being chopped up to pieces, we have people being decapitated. Seriously, this show is pretty dark. It's pretty dark, and I'm glad that they're not censoring this, because I like my dark, series. I like my dark series. But, yeah, this first episode, from what we can gather, is that the biggest mystery is how exactly Toyo and the other two drifters ended up arriving in this specific world in the first place. We do know that the guy behind the desk in the white room is able to send people into different worlds, it seems like, and as we saw, there is more doors, more pathways that, he could probably end up sending individuals at. So that means that there has to be more worlds residing within this universe. But the biggest question, of course, is to why did he send Toyo and the other two drifters in this specific world, and was he capable of actually sending other people to other dimensions or parallel worlds, since, there are different doors that lead to different worlds, it seems, but why? Why is he doing this? What sort of setup is, coming about in this, series of drifters? I'm very curious at. Now, if anybody else doesn't know about, what this series is like, just think of Hellsing, okay? Just think of Hellsing, because technically this is by the same author who ended up writing Hellsing, who ended up making the Hellsing series. So you can definitely see that the artistic style of this series definitely has a Hellsing vibe to it. So if you're a Hellsing fan, I definitely recommend you guys check out this first episode of Drifters. But yeah, a lot of mystery is surrounded in this series right now, but then again, it's only the first episode. We're sure to get more explanation to things, hopefully, in, the next few episodes, and it seems like we're gonna be seeing maybe a battle set up in the next episode of Drifters as well. So that's gonna be pretty exciting to see. But yeah, so far, I'm interested in this series. I am. Let me know in the comments down below on what you guys thought about this first episode of Drifters. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Just what's your overall thoughts on the episode? And like this video if you did. Be sure to hit that red subscribe button down below if you enjoyed the content and you want to see more content from me. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.